Welcome to Beyond the Forecast, and we have a very special guest that's going to be joining me on this week's episode. It is Sydney McGee from the Virginia Spaceport Authority. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So what's your title at the Virginia Spaceport Authority?
I am fortunate enough to be the Chief of Education and Intern Development.
So you get to work with the students coming out of school, you get to teach them, get them maybe jobs one day outside of or from school, but maybe one day at the spaceport even. So
Exactly. Yeah, and we started as young as kindergarten. So really it's going into schools a lot, and it's also bringing students to the spaceport quite a bit.
Wow.
Yes, so anything to do with any kind of student interaction runs through my department.
Okay, so let's give everyone kind of an introduction. We have the Virginia Spaceport. It's an area that we've had here for a long time. How long has Spaceport been around?
Timely question. This is our 30th anniversary year. So we started back in 1995.
95.
Yes.
So a lot of launches since then, a lot of rockets that have gone to different places. What kind of capabilities does a spaceport have for launches and for aircraft?
Yeah, so we do a little bit of everything. So we launch rockets, of course, and we do orbital, suborbital. We've done missions to the moon before, and we also have an airfield where drone testing occurs. So we launch rockets, we do drone testing, we do a little bit of everything out at Mars.
Yes, this is some of the video that we captured when we were out there a year ago when we got a chance to check out some of your launch pads. I think this was pad 0A to believe where we were standing and looking out at some of the other pads. It's a huge facility and it's right on the ocean, and that can be a challenge to keep everything in working order because the ocean is not fresh water, it's salty water. That can cause some problems.
Yes, definitely. So we have to be very aware of the effect that we have on the environment, but also that the environment has on us. So the salt water can be corrosive. So we do have preventative measures we have to take on the pads. We have to consider that when we're building the pads. We have to kind of counterbalance for the amount of salt that we'll be encountering.
Is pad 0A the oldest pad at the spaceport?
No, actually. I think pad B is our oldest pad.
Pad B is the oldest one.
First,
okay.
yeah.
That's a smaller one compared to, let's see if I can pull a picture of that. I'll pull that up here in a second. But that one is, 0B is like a Minotaur type of launch. So this is 0A right here.
Yes,
and then
that's
the next one, this is B.
That's B.
Okay, so that's the oldest one there.
I believe so, yes. I believe B was first.
Okay, B was first, and then came along A, and A has been the one where we've seen the largest rockets launch from, like the Antares rockets.
That's right.
Those are the ones that go to where?
Those go to the International Space Station. So as I tell kids when I teach them, there are no stores in space, so astronauts are not able to just pop out to 7-Eleven. So we need to send them the materials that they need to work up on the space station. So we send them a whole variety of things. So it can include care packages from their families down here on Earth, and then it also includes experiments that they need to work on and food as well.
Okay. There's other launch pads I want to go show you and talk about first, and then we'll get into that internship opportunity because a lot of people are interested in that. So here's 0B. We already talked about that.
Yep.
And now here is 0C.
Yes.
This is a rocket lab launch pad where they launch their Electron rocket, correct?
That's right. Yeah, we launch Electron off of pad C right there. Yes, right next to A.
That's right next to A. So we have, so it doesn't go in A, B, C, D.
It does not. No, we mixed it up a little bit.
Okay.
So it's A, C, B, D, actually.
Okay, and then here is D, and this is the newest one.
That's the newest one, yeah.
When, what's the timeline for this? Because we still see it's under construction in this picture here.
Yeah, so we've made really good progress on D, and our kind of VSA section of working on D is completed, but Rocket Lab's been posting some really great updates on their website and Instagram. They have a lot of social media platforms, and they post progress as it's made, and they show videos of some of the testing they've done on there. So that's a great way to track D and how it's progressing.
Yeah, it has a ways to go, but we can see the basic signs of it. That's really exciting, and that will hold a rocket that may be the largest one to ever launch from the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport. That's cool.
That is correct. Yeah, that's going to be the Neutron rocket, and that will actually, fun facts, we're the only U.S. spaceport that launches the Electron rocket, and will be the only place, period, where you can see the Neutron rocket launch. So it's pretty historic.
I can't wait to see that.
There,
and for people that want to see it when they go to the Visitor Center at NASA's Waltz Visitor Center, you're close to these pads when you get to see these launches go up.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you're pretty close, and you can see them from fairly far away, actually. So that's also kind of nice about being anywhere along the eastern shore of Virginia. And even into Maryland, you can actually see some of the launches, especially if they're at night.
Yes, and even for our friends in North Carolina as well. So that's why I want to kind of wrap this in now for areas specifically into Virginia. So what does a spaceport mean for everyone in Virginia? Why do we have a spaceport? Why do we need to have a spaceport?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. Yeah, so that's what I talk to students about a lot, is just kind of, especially when they're younger, why is this cool? Like, why do we need a spaceport, have a spaceport, and we have dialogue about that? But it's really impactful because, of course, we need to launch what we're launching for various reasons, and we tell students when your credit cards work, or when your parents buy gas, or when any type of electronic thing happens here on Earth, a large part is because of the satellites that are launched into space. That's what allows all of those transactions to happen. So the reason all of our modern technology works, which we're getting more and more reliant on every day, is because of a lot of the stuff that are launched in general, but a lot of the things that we launch out of Wallops. And we're actually a backup for the Cape down in Florida, so we launch into similar orbits.
Yes, yeah, we do. Based on the position, we could get into orbital mechanics, but we're not going to do that right now.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay.
We're not going to do that right now. I love that. I didn't major in that, but I just started dabbling in it. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating.
It is interesting, though, yes.
So who can be an intern? You said earlier, this starts all the way at kindergarten.
Yes. Yeah, so we start working with students as young as possible because we want them to be interested in STEM, excited about STEM, and to see themselves in the world of STEM one way or another. So that kind of starts younger, and then when they get older into high school and college age, they can look at internship opportunities or shadow day opportunities where they can just come for a day and follow someone around, because that was our most common question, was what is a typical day like? There really is not a typical day at the spaceport, and I explain that to people and to students. And there's nothing wrong with wanting consistency in your schedule and wanting to be at the same place at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. That's great, but this may not be the best position for you. If you're that type of person, you have to kind of like things changing up a little bit or problems popping up, and then you solve them in the moment. You have to be kind of a puzzle-oriented person or be excited by solving puzzles. And so we want to expose students to all the various aspects of the spaceport, because there's the engineering side, which is incredibly important, but there's also the finance side, there's also a marketing side, there's many different education side, there are many different sides. So whatever talent or skills that you have, you could probably find a way to apply it to aerospace. So that's a lot of what we spent time doing. And even this summer, we have a financial analyst intern coming on board. We have our marketing team is going to have an intern. We have opportunities for everyone, and we want it to be as open as possible to everyone.
So this is younger students, or it could be students that are in college at the time too.
Yes, so our internships are for high school students and college students. The programs look a little bit different. It's a little bit more intensive when they're in college.
Sure.
But yes, yeah, so for college students, you come in for 15 weeks and you just kind of get turned loose upon the spaceport.
Wow, yeah. That's a lot to learn.
It's a lot to learn, yes.
So for interns, they're based out of Wallops, and that's where they're going to be, or I know you have a location in Norfolk too.
We do. So it depends on what the team needs for the summer. So we have teams, all of our interns this summer are going to be based at the spaceport. They're all going to be at Wallops, but we have had interns in the past based in our Norfolk office, and then they have the opportunity to travel to Wallops several times during their internship. So everyone will spend time at the spaceport in one way or another. Either you'll be based there or you'll be in Norfolk and kind of go back and forth a little bit as needed.
Okay. What are some of the opportunities for those interns after their internship is complete?
Yeah, it's a great question. So about 20% of our current employees went through our internship program at some point. So we have a great kind of retention rate with our interns. If there are jobs available, it's awesome because it's such a unique workspace that it's nice to hire someone that you've already worked with, you've onboarded them, they've gotten familiar with our facilities and with the pads and everything. But, it depends. So if there's an opportunity for them, then they are often invited to stay. It's not guaranteed, but that does happen fairly frequently. So it does turn into great opportunities that way. But we also have interns that have gone on to other aerospace-related careers. We have several that work at Blue Origin and other organizations, or they can still apply the things that they learned during their time at the spaceport to their future positions. And it's definitely kind of to say the least, it's a little bit unique to be able to say that you worked at a spaceport for several months, and that's something that other people maybe competing for jobs don't have on their resume.
Yeah, that kind of goes into my next question. Why is the Virginia Spaceport the spot to be an intern? Why do you want to be an intern there? There's a lot of places you can go, especially for someone that wants to get into aerospace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think our internships, I know from prior interns telling me that our internships are very hands-on. So these are not sit back and observe type of internships. So I always say we're a small but mighty organization. We have about 130, 135 employees. So typically if you're being put on a team, it's because that team has work to assign to an intern. interns. So we're very thoughtful about which teams accept interns, and we make sure that there is work for the intern to do that's tangible and that is directly related to what VSA needs to accomplish. So if you're put on a team, you're going to be working on the team. You're not going to be kind of observing and sitting back very much. You're not going to be staying inside very much. You're going to be running around quite a bit regardless of what your position is. You're going to be talking to a lot of different people at the company, and because it is on the smaller side, you get a much more intimate experience, which is really great. And our CEO knows who the interns are. All the managers know who the interns are and can really spend time with them and give them a little bit more attention, which is really nice.
That's really great. The organization, you said it's kind of small. What is the size of the Spaceport Authority?
It's about 135 employees.
Okay.
In total. That's all of us.
And then you also mentioned earlier that if you want to work at the spaceport, you could be working any hours, all hours. It's not a 9 to 5 type of job. So tell me more about that, because we know that some launches can happen at 2 o'clock in the morning. But when it's not a launch, why is the schedule changed so much?
Sure. So typically it doesn't. It's kind of in that week or so, most of the time leading up to launch, that it's not chaotic. It's actually very controlled, very organized, but our schedule shifts. So you have several shifts you could be placed on. And so that's something that we ask interns before they're hired and before they come on board is, in that week or so leading up to launch, are you okay with being assigned an overnight shift or a very early morning to midday shift? It's not always going to be our typical kind of 7 to 4 schedule. So we're going to need someone there all the time, especially when we have a rocket on the pad.
I guess it's probably a question that all the interns get to ask is, will I be able to see a rocket launch?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. That's the big question, if no other question.
Yes.
And 99% of the time, yes. So typically it just kind of depends on the customer and what our customers need. But we launch pretty frequently. So if you're with us for 15 weeks, you have very good odds at seeing at least one. We've had interns see 2 even in the past.
Yes, we'll have launches that are suborbital, orbital, and then we said earlier that can even go to the moon. Those aren't as common, but those are special.
Yes, we have the capabilities.
Yes, you have the capabilities. That's what it's all about. You have the capabilities. So the internship program sounds like a great thing for young students or college students to get involved in the organization. The organization, Virginia Spaceport, has been getting larger and larger over the 30 years. So I want to go back to some of the images that you shared with me, because we saw pad 0A, B, C, D. That's the image right here. And then what's this facility here? This isn't a launch pad. What's this?
No, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's our payload processing facility, or the PPF. We've had interns work in there in the past before. So that is a space where it can be turned into a clean room. It's a massive facility, has huge ceilings, like 70-foot ceilings. So that door, there's a white square kind of at the front there. That's a massive door, actually.
Yes.
So a rocket can be taken in and out. So if it's we offer various services to our customers. So like Rocket Lab's a customer, and we have several other customers. And one of the services we can offer is offering them a clean room space if they would like to integrate their payload or what the rocket is carrying onto their rocket in here. They can do that. So we can arrange for that when we're contracting with them. And if they want it as an actual clean room, then we can do that as well. So it can be just an open, large space for them to work, or they might need actually a certain number of parts per million with the particles that they need us to take it to.
Right. I got a chance to see some of these facilities last year when I came for a story and a tour. A lot of places we didn't get a lot of images of and pictures of, but these facilities are phenomenal.
Thank you for saying that, yes, because we unfortunately can't show it off as much as we would like to, because it's all very hush-hush. It's all very confidential. But yes, it's a really cool space, and I think anytime you can set foot in a clean room, even if it's not in clean room status, it's a very unique experience. So we have had interns actually spend a good chunk of their internship working in there, depending on what the teams need from them at the time. So that is a space that's open to our interns.
Okay, so I guess if you're working in the clean room, you can't have, dust and Cheetos on your fingers when you walk in. You got to be clean.
No, there's a whole gowning process you have to go through. Yes.
I'm not even familiar with all that, so what am I talking about? But that's really cool. Now, we have this here. It looks like just an airstrip, but what is this?
Yes, so that's our runway. So I mentioned earlier that we do drone testing. This is where that happens. So this is a very large kind of space that we're looking at here, and then we're jumping from location to location. So this is on the opposite side of the island from where the launch pads are, and this is our airfield. So there is a small white building there. That's our customizable air hangar. So that's something that we also offer to customers, is giving them a space to operate inside, and there's a garage attached to it. So it just just depends on the customer and what they need. So all of them like being inside because it can be very hot and swampy, of course, in the Virginia area.
And
so
the bugs can be thick too.
The bugs are thick. Yeah. So like they really appreciate having an indoor air conditioned area. So that's a really nice service we offer them. And if they would like to store their drones with us because they want to come back multiple times to do drone testing, we do have a customer that does that leaves their drones on site. We can store them for you if you like. Or if it's just kind of a one-off, come for a few days or a week, then you can come in and out of there as you need. Is
this facility, and I'm not sure how aware you are, but you have a lot of airspace in this area because of the site. What's the airspace like? Is there plenty of room for them to do their testing for customers?
Yes, good question. So that's part of what we kind of offer to our customers is helping coordinate about airspace and access to that. So NASA is also a part of that too because they control part of the airspace. So we partner with NASA as well when it comes time for customers actually doing flights with their drones.
Yeah, because this is only one of the spots in the country where, maybe not here specifically, but for the launch pads, you have the airspace from the ground all the way to space.
Yeah, exactly.
You have clearance.
We have all the clearance.
Yeah,
we
all
work
the
with
clearance.
the FAA on that. So a lot of it's teamwork. We have a lot of different people we have to work with in order to get all of those moving parts in place where they need to be.
Gotcha. Another image here. Now we're going to one of your newer customers that launches from pad C and also eventually from D when that's done. This is the Rocket Lab. Tell me about what we're looking at here.
Yeah, so these are the space where Rocket Lab's actually going to work on the Neutron rocket. So this is not on the base. All the facilities we looked at previously, the pads, the PPF, the airfield, those are all on the base. These buildings are actually just off of the base. So Rocket Lab has another facility that they lease from us called the ICF, and they wanted a facility that was a little bit closer because Neutron's going to be a rather large rocket. So they wanted something a little bit closer so they don't have to bring the rocket as great of a distance to actually get it to the pad. So they had these facilities, and so we built these facilities, and Rocket Lab is going to be working on Neutron in there. And then if this were live and you could shift the camera a little bit to the right, you'd see that the gate to get on the base is right there.
Right.
So they'll be able to
it's just
work
below,
on
basically.
it just below. So they'll be able to work on it there and then roll it right onto the base and right over to the pads.
Yeah, I remember a long time ago there was like chicken farms or chicken coops that were in this area.
Yes. So some people call it the Rocket Ranch now.
The Rocket Ranch.
Yes.
Okay, I like that.
Yes. So we rebranded a little bit, but yes, there were chicken farms there not all that long ago.
Yeah, not too long ago, but upgrades. So this is the other facility that you were mentioning earlier. This is for Rocket Lab, and I've been inside here before. This is where they're working on their Electron rocket.
Yes. Electron's a smaller rocket than Neutron's going to be, so it's not quite as difficult to drive it from here onto the base, but for Neutron they want it to be a bit closer. But yes, so the Rocket Lab works on their Electron rocket in this space, and then when it's time for launch, then they roll it down to the pads, and onto this one goes to pad C. The other rocket, Neutron, will go to D. If
for viewers that have been watching Beyond the Forecast, or this is your first one that you're watching, I did do a tour of Rocket Lab's facility in Auckland, New Zealand, and it's this building times, I don't know, 10, and there's Electron rockets that are just lined up. It's unbelievable. So you can check that out after you're done watching this one, because it's amazing to see how they have this one here for Virginia, and they have their larger facility in Auckland, New Zealand. It was a long flight to go over there. I was tired when I went there, but it is a cool place.
Sure, definitely
cool
worth
place.
it.
Here's a zoomed-in view of that Neutron. So both buildings, all for that rocket, and then that rocket essentially is going to go towards the launch pad, which is in this view here.
Yes, that's right. And so that one will get rolled onto pad D once it's fully completed. So the one you showed earlier.
Yeah, pad D is kind of would be more in the foreground in this picture.
Yes.
What are some of the long-term plans or concerns if sea level rise or sea erosion? Have there been any concerns with that for this area? Because when we look at this image here, we see some rock jetties that are out protecting some spots, but other areas don't have that. So how is the kind of health of the overall land looking?
Yeah, very good. So like that's exactly, you got it. So it's hard to see in the photo there, but yeah, there's kind of a rock wall there to help prevent some of that. So that was something that they had to think about all the way back in 1995, even, as well as kind of like how are we going to create structures here, and like what are we anticipating in terms of sea level, et cetera. So that's something that we definitely talk about a lot, especially when new construction comes underway. Like for D, it's like, okay, so how are we going to kind of prevent any corrosion or any, if the sea level were to rise or recede, or we have to kind of balance all of that whenever we're creating something new. But yeah, we keep an eye on it, and we've done very well so far. Everything looks good.
Everything's looking good. One thing that we don't have a video of here, I think there's maybe a video on this loop, it'll eventually get to that point, of a night launch launch because the lighting at the spaceport is not just like a lighting in a parking lot. It's red.
Yes.
Why?
It is. Well, that is actually, speaking of impact on the environment, that is to protect the turtles. So if we used white lights, turtles can get confused and think it's the moon, so they try to follow it and lay eggs. So if you use red light, then it kind of deters them, so it's a gentle way to guide the turtles away from the pad.
Okay, yeah, because you don't want to be laying eggs in a launch pad area. It gets a little noisy.
Yes, for sure. And we have to suspend operations, too, if the wrong animal nests in the wrong place, because there could be an endangered species, so we have to gently guide them elsewhere.
Yes, that's true, because it's a large area, and there's kind of areas for them to kind of swim to the launch pads versus just taking the causeway. There's going to be a new bridge that's going to be built, too.
Yes, that, too. Yes, I forgot about the bridge. Yes, there will be another bridge built, to help sustain larger rockets. You have to go over a bridge to get from the kind of beginning of the base over to this part of the base. There is a bridge you have to go over, so they're going to build a bridge to sustain some larger stuff coming across it.
Larger rockets. Time moves on, but upgrades are being built here at the spaceport. Is there anything else you wanted to mention to me about the spaceport? What's new? What's happening next?
Yes, we're just busy as ever, and we're really excited to be busy as ever, and we're so happy that we're in Virginia. I mean, we're better.
All the viewers are asking this question right now. When's the next launch?
Of course. So if you follow us on social media or follow any of our customers on social media, we always post if the launch is able to be announced publicly. That's the best, most updated information you'll get.
Okay, and you're celebrating 30 years this year.
This year.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We're happy about it.
Thank you for coming on the Beyond the Forecast episode. This is cool. We learned a lot today.
Well, yes, this was very fun. Thank you.
And we'll keep you up to date on when the next launch is, because there's launches to come, there's bigger rockets to come, so it's going to be exciting. Thank you again, Sydney, for coming on the show.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll be back with more coming up in just a little bit. Welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. We have a couple of meteorologists back in town. Steve and Brian, what's going on? How you guys doing?
It's great to be here, and one day Jeff and I are gonna be able to take our neckties off for this. And be more casual.
I'm still wearing my space tie from the earlier guest.
You had a great conversation with them.
And I got one of these coins too. Look at this.
Oh, that's sweet.
A good coin.
Yeah.
That's a sweet logo.
I'm very excited. Yes, that's from the
sweet
spaceport.
logo.
Isn't that cool?
Add that to the collection.
Yes.
Yeah, there is a good collection over there.
Hey, guys, Jeff has the best space patch collection on his backpack.
It's incredible.
It is incredible.
Every launch that I've been to, I should put it on the show one time. Every launch that I've been to,
you got
a patch.
It almost seems like you work for NASA. Like that's how intense it is. I swear.
Wavy TV's.
It's crazy.
NASA correspondent.
Yeah, well, it's exciting because they were mentioning the new pad that they've been working on for at least a good year or so, and we'll be able to showcase that when that's ready to go too. That's gonna be cool.
Super
bigger. The largest rocket to ever launch from Wallops will be from that pad, so that's gonna be awesome.
Right in our backyard.
And Jeff will be going to watch that launch.
Oh yeah, and it's right in our backyard, which is I mean, there's so many cool things happening right in our backyard here.
Yeah.
Being here in Hampton Roads,
There's
between the Navy, between NASA, between the surfing, between the coast, between the farmland, between all of it. It's between the history,
really has
the James River and Jamestown, like all that
Yeah,
stuff. So
it has
cool.
really a mix of everything.
Yeah, which is pretty neat.
There was a piece of property for sale up there. I was thinking, ooh, maybe I should build a house. It was just a big plot.
Well, I'll tell you what, mortgage rates now are pretty steep.
Yeah, that's
or interest
true.
rates, I should say. What is it? Interest rates.
Interest rates, yeah.
Pretty,
well,
pretty
what am I going to do
right
with it? I mean, it's a big plot of land. I got to build a house, and I don't know how to build a house. And
well, I mean, all you need is a tent. All you need is a tent.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're going to surf Chincoteague in tomorrow morning, so that's right there. The beach is right there.
Yeah, good swell.
Get a little
Wow.
second property.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we could have
a
a spot for surfing, a spot for rocket launches.
There you go.
Right there.
Yeah.
All we need is a mailbox and a tent.
And I would say the best time to do that probably be the summer, a little summer vacation. This is our segue to summer season.
Yes.
We're kind of exiting May.
Good segue.
Let's try my segue here. May
temperatures
was a little warm,
Yeah.
which is interesting just because the past week and a half has been kind of cooler. Way cooler.
Yeah. Looks like we might flip the script though. Coming up.
Towards the end of the week, right?
Yeah.
Maybe
weekend.
Friday, Saturday, weekend, yeah.
I was
back
not
up there?
complaining about that cool weather.
Oh,
we were
no,
talking
I'm
about
still
before it
not
showed up.
complaining.
Remember that?
Jeff was so stoked.
Yeah.
I got really excited
And
because I saw the cold air coming.
And I think it was that 16th, the 91-degree day where you were just over it, probably.
Yeah.
And early on, too. The first of the month.
Well, and the viewers don't know this, but before Brian started, when he was getting ready to come on board, he posted on his Instagram something about how do you like the heat or something. And this is where he used to live, they're not even here. And I ranked it as low as you could rate on the scale.
And I scrolled through the reactions, the responses, and everybody was stoked on it. And there's one outlier, and it was Jeff. And I was like, who is that? It's Jeff.
Yeah.
No.
Here's the thing, though. Those 2 days, the 24th and the 25th, rank like 74, 75 degrees. Those were days we didn't have rain. And those
Right.
were perfect.
It was
For
nice.
Memorial Day weekend because we had
Nice.
low humidity. And when you think about summer, you think about June, July, August. I mean, around here, you know, you're coming up from Savannah. I mean, those are dog days of summer where you walk outside for 5 minutes
Yeah.
and you're sweating already. So it was kind of neat to have the unofficial kickoff of the summer season, Memorial Day weekend, and it felt like a nice,
Yeah.
refreshing fall weekend.
Also, this past Memorial Day weekend, was a sneaker for the sun. If you did not have the sunscreen on, because
Yes.
you think it's
That's a
cool,
really good point.
it's comfortable, it's beautiful out. I was out on the beach watching the Steel Pier Classic. I won't lie, did not take my own advice. I went to the beach to watch a buddy from Georgia who was competing in it. He took down, by the way, the Big Kahuna event. Shout out to Noah Williams, he's a legend.
That's a longboard event, right?
Longboard event
Yeah.
for individuals 220 pounds and up.
Oh,
so just
wow.
a bunch of legends just going out there and
On the big boards.
they were
Yeah,
ripping. It was
I believe it.
all around awesome event.
And then you got ripped by the sun.
I got ripped by the sun. I was laying there on the beach enjoying, the good vibes. They had good music going, the waves in the background, all the surfing. Kind of took a little bit of a nap on the beach.
Oh.
Got home, my legs were completely red.
They're fried.
Smoked.
Fried.
smoked.
And you would think it's comfortable. It's 70s. It's
The low humidity. Yeah, that might be it. Or it doesn't
Yeah.
feel that hot. Yeah.
But the sun will it's this time of year. The sun
Yeah.
angle's really high. So
Yes.
you're going to get cooked.
even
So,
in like April, sun
Yeah.
angle gets real steep.
yeah.
I mean, the peak angle is in June
Right.
for the solstice at
It's coming
77
up.
degrees up.
It's coming up. It's coming up
it's right around
next
the
couple
corner.
weeks.
Yes.
Which is kind of, we start the summer season mid-June, right? Or meteorological summer starts June 1st.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting that the peak of the sun angle is at the beginning of the season.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not like the middle of the season. I always think that's something that's kind of weird. I know it's
Yeah.
not going to change or anything
Definitely
like that, but it's just
something-
one of those things. It's like, oh, it's still spring. Like, you don't think about that. You
Right.
don't think about, getting, even when it's 75 degrees out, you're on about, even on a day when it's 65 out, you could get sunburned this time of year.
And one thing that's kind of fascinating too is that we know that the days get longer as we go towards that
Yeah.
summer day, and we know that days get shorter after the first day of summer. But the rate at which the day length changes slows down for around the first day of the summer and the first day of winter,
Yeah.
compared to the spring and fall when it
'Cause
changes around 2
it's,
minutes
yes.
a day.
What's the shape? A parabola, kind of? Where it's like
Yeah,
peaking?
curved. Yeah,
It's curved.
The,
Sounds
the
like
time.
kinda
Yeah,
slowing
it's
down a little
curved.
bit.
Exactly. It's kind of
Yeah.
cool. Precipitation. We've had a lot of rainfall.
Which has been good. Knocked out drought
Yeah.
for most of the region. There still is, I think, a level 1 or level 2 drought hanging around the Albemarle Sound. Which-
Next week, Thursday, that'll be gone.
Yeah, that'll be gone, right?
Yeah.
Because
Look at
that doesn't include that one. That doesn't. No, that doesn't include that last week's rain. I'm not sure.
Not a
But
bad
those are not-
spread either throughout the month.
Think about
Rain
it's
each
been
week.
It's been once a week at least.
Yeah.
We've had a solid half inch of rainfall.
Yep.
That second week of May, we got soaked with two rain events. But since then, it's been at least once a week. We've gotten a good rain event.
But that's kind of what you want, the consistency in the
Sure,
rain to avoid
sure.
the drought. I think I saw something earlier today. New Jersey, our home state, is finally out of a drought for the first time since September.
Yeah.
A lot of the East Coast has been kind of dry recently.
Yeah.
Maybe not for us, luckily with this month.
It's the same way as like trying to pay off a credit card bill or get yourself out of debt. Like
Yeah.
you have to just do it consistently
Over
to
time.
avoid getting in and falling into debt or falling behind on your
Yes.
bills. You just have to do it consistently, and that's kind of a way to think about staying out of a drought is being able to get consistent rainfall. But
And
that doesn't
slow
hap-
soaking rain.
or
Yeah.
slow soaking rain. That doesn't happen all the time. So it's like every now and then we'll get a dry stretch of 2.5, 3 weeks.
Yep.
Oh, all right, and all of a sudden we'll get 1 or 2 or 3 rain.
And then
rain
we'll be
events
okay.
Here.
Yeah.
So this is good. So how's everyone's garden doing?
Excellent.
Yours is doing good. I know.
Yeah.
I feel
Yes.
like everything. I don't got a garden.
We
but
gotta
I feel
get we
like-
gotta get this guy some pots
I need to
for his
start-
balcony
yeah,
and
yeah.
get him some plants.
I think
going.
I feel like everything is very green.
Very
this year.
green.
And you know what's
Yep.
interesting is that social media has also picked up on this. I've been seeing a lot of people recently posting that everybody's like, there's something different about this spring. It's very green this year. And I just contributed to there's been a good amount of rain for a lot of these areas, highly populated areas people are posting from. I'm seeing where these people are posting from, and I go to the drought monitor, and they don't have much drought. They've had a good amount of rains. I feel like that is
Interesting.
The rainfall's really helped out with that.
Do you
Yeah.
think it's just people getting outside more and
I
actually
also think that
realizing-
there's a little bit of
you know
that
what I mean?
too.
Like they're
There's
actually
a little
realizing
bit of
that,
that
like,
too.
people just get outside and you're like, oh wow, the leaves are green. It's like, yeah, it's May.
Welcome to
You know?
going outside.
Welcome to the
There's a
outside
little
world.
bit of
I mean,
that too.
maybe, yeah.
There's a little bit of that too.
Maybe a little bit of that too. Coming up in a little bit, we're going to do a quick break. We're
Yeah.
going to talk about the prediction for what's going to happen in the next 3 months.
And I still
for
have to
rainfall.
ask Jeff about his garden and the pepper plants.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole story.
I have an update for yeah, an update.
That's a whole story. We'll have it right in just a second. All right, welcome back. So, yeah, garden. One of the pepper plants that you gave me, Steve, I think was squished by a, not my dog,
Don't say
but I think by a
Buzz.
squirrel.
You
No,
think so?
no, Buzz isn't
Well,
doing
how
in
big
there.
was it? How big was it? How big is it?
We're looking at the height right now is about 5 inches.
Mine are like almost 7-8 inches tall. 2 of them.
Wow.
4 of them. Backstory. I gave Jeff a bunch of seeds from random peppers that got from the farmer's market. No
Yeah.
idea what kind of peppers they are. The variety, weird purple cayenne peppers. Who knows?
You'll learn
Heatless
that when they grow.
habanero. That's the fun part. We'll learn what happens when they
Who
grow.
knows? Yeah, ghost
And
peppers,
they've
yeah.
been sprouting like nuts. It's been crazy. You were confident. You're a confident gardener where you put one in each spot and
Yes.
you got it out. I
Yes.
was very skeptical. I put 3 seeds in each little hole we dug out, and everything sprouted.
The success rate for those seeds was good.
Incredible.
It was good.
So we were talking about me having to, my wife and I had to splice and get rid of some of the smaller plants.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. They got strong enough that they had roots. So instead of just cutting them, we were able to gently pluck
Oh, you got it out.
with the roots. 5 of them we took out. They're sitting in water right now for about a week or so, thriving. So when I get those roots to get going again, I'm going to put them in another plant.
Nice.
Because it was like I thought I was going to have to kill the whole plant to give it space, and sure enough, we were able to get it out, and it still had strong roots. So I was like, oh, let's drop it in water.
The way
Let
that
it go.
the way that this week is going, I mean, outside is like living in the water right now.
Yes,
With all
so
this rain that we have.
I was hoping that I was thinking probably wait next week to get them outside when maybe there's some sun I could water them. But I was thinking, man, maybe this was the week to get them outside because we got rain pretty much every other day.
Rain every day, and then more rain coming in the
Yeah.
the next couple months. So this is June, July, and August. This is from the Climate Prediction Center. We're in the green zone. We're gonna get rain.
Yeah, it's on the low end of that green.
Yes.
And this okay. So these graphics they kind of can be a little bit misleading.
Yeah.
here,
Yeah,
the
they can
outlooks
be.
from the CPC because they're more of a here's our confidence level that things would be above or below normal, not necessarily the amount.
Yeah.
Right. Not the
Right.
amount that it'd be above normal. So we look at this, we're saying okay, we're kind of in the lighter green. So the confidence is kind of shaky, but it's low confidence that we'll have precipitation above normal for June, July, and August. That's pretty much what this is saying.
Yes.
Yeah, that could be a couple inches, a half inch, quarter of an inch.
It's
above
impossible.
normal.
It's one thunderstorm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It could be
One thunderstorm can blow out your
Yeah.
whole rain total, and you can be 5 inches above normal for the summer because of one day.
2 hours or an hour
Two- yeah,
or a
two-
half hour. However much.
Well, hopefully not 5 inches in 1 hour.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Whoa, underwater.
Yeah, but a lot of times, we'll see these. A lot of times, we'll show them on air to kind of help just show the weather story. That hey, maybe some more wet weather coming up in the months of summer here. But it's really hard to gauge the specifics of how much rain.
But
we're
I
gonna
like
get.
the word you use, the confidence level.
That's 'cause that's what it is,
when
right?
it comes
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
these, really long range outlooks, June, July, August, that's a long range
Yeah,
outlook.
man.
You
It's
need
90
to
days.
use words like your confidence level. You can't get into specifics, when it comes to the month of August at this point in the year. So it's
Yeah.
important to kind of, see your long range trends and maybe look back a little bit. This is kind of how, the Climate Prediction Center kind of makes these forecasts.
Mm-hmm.
That, they have past seasons that they can kind of look to see, okay, how has this year been? How can we compare it to previous seasons? And then they put their forecast out that way. And again, saying it off of a confidence kind of scale is the best way to go about this because it's so long of a stretch of time.
Yep. There's pretty much say we're we have some confidence that we'll get rain above normal for the next 3 months. But we're also it could be right around normal.
I think the good takeaway for this is that when you compare it to the drought monitor, so if you're in the area that's green that we saw, if we're going to have a better chance to have a wetter than normal season, we'll probably have a better chance to get out of the drought.
Yeah. And or remain out of a drought. Or,
Yes.
keep that consistency.
Stay drought free.
Stay drought
This
free.
is just looking at kind of the local map. You can see the colors correlate to the drought level, zooming it in. So this doesn't show the whole country. Off to the west where there is that drier than normal pattern that's coming up for the summer. They are in droughts in those parts of the country, so that's not good.
That's not good. And we're honestly across the Mid-Atlantic and across most of the East Coast, that was in the CPC zone of having more rain for the summer, which is good because not a lot of the East Coast was in drought. So hopefully we could keep it that way. And hopefully that just means, some daily thunderstorms a couple times a week, and then that's
nice
it.
Viewing.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of rumbles while you're going to bed. A nice set the tone for a nice evening.
Some sub-severe stuff.
Yep.
Nothing to worry about.
That too, the sub-severe.
Not like,
what
was that, the other week we had in May?
Well, thunderstorms when I go to bed aren't comforting anymore. Let's get this straight because
bedtime, we're different here because you're close to midnight or after midnight when you're getting home.
After midnight. So I'll stay and watch radar if there's a chance for severe weather. Jeremy will come in to take the morning show.
Do a swap.
So I would say if it's 3 o'clock in the morning I hear thunder, then I'm okay. But if it's 1:30 in the morning, I'm still in my time.
Yeah,
still my time. And you're like, okay, what is it going to be next?
Yeah. So also backstory to that there was was it last week or 2 weeks where I think it was almost every day we had those thunderstorms roll in. And there were at least a couple warnings with them almost every single time. I think it was 2 weeks ago.
That was 2 weeks ago.
It was just, I think by Friday, Jeff and I were just going, oh my gosh, you were exhausted.
I was wiped out.
Yeah, because it was a lot of times it was after sunset, late night hours.
That storm system that moved through like the eastern shore and then up towards that was crazy.
That was the day with the line, that big squall line that went through Delaware.
Squall.
Oh,
so
yeah.
For the viewers here, you may have not noticed that, but
that was
it
a
was
couple Fridays ago.
Yes.
There was a severe thunderstorm warning for the entire state of Delaware.
Yeah.
Like the polygon was just the
And
entire state. Which,
yeah.
I mean, small state compared to, it's probably the size of a couple counties here in Virginia. But it was just kind of seeing that on radar being like, oh my gosh.
And that was a week I was out of town. I was traveling actually back here.
You were driving.
And I just the worst timing possible. Got a really sick picture of the shelf cloud. But other than that, it was the speed on the highway dropped so much. My time for arrival getting back here went from 8:30 to 11:30 at night just because nobody was moving. It was that bad of a storm that moved through.
It was just kind of driving 20, 25 miles an hour, which
Put the brakes.
He sent me a message saying that he got home when I was packing up to leave to go home, and he was on the morning show the next day because it was Friday into Saturday. So it was 11:45, I think, is when that came in. It was 11:45 at night.
Oh my
And the
gosh.
morning show starts on Saturday at 6 a.m.
Well, fortunately, the rain was moving out.
Rain was moving out because I was leaving.
Out, so you were able to kind of.
We were cruising there.
Cruise in, the forecast settled down a little bit.
You don't want to be going across the CBBT in a thunderstorm.
No.
That'd be
that also happened to me once coming down the CBBT, and I think I was turning over with, I think it was Ricky at the time, or someone, and I was cruising down CBBT. We were looking at all these warnings. They were way off towards I-95, but then we rolled in, and I think you and I that evening were covering a couple tornado warnings. Yeah. That's nothing more nerve-wracking when you're driving home and you're, you know what I mean, and you're driving and then you're going, the radar's looping in the back of your head.
But hey, look, that's Hampton Roads in the spring.
Yeah.
That's the springtime. It gets
Absolutely.
active around here.
Yeah,
It does.
Yeah,
it's been pretty active season so far.
We're grateful to have that rainfall though, which is good.
Yeah.
Yes, good slow soaking rainfall. One more topic that we have is about the temperatures. We'll go to a quick break and then we'll talk about the temperatures as we go into the months ahead. Welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. We need to talk about the temperatures for the months of June, July, and August.
Oh boy.
Hot.
Here we go.
Hot.
Here we
Hot.
go.
Average highs, in June, July, and August are 80s.
Well into the 80s for July.
Well into the 80s.
This is the first time I pulled up this map. I didn't even see what it looked like. I'm just going to pull it up right now. Everyone's hot. Everyone's going to be hot. It's going to be hot.
Whoa. No.
Actually, we're okay.
Hey, look. Well,
actually, no.
No, we have a sliver.
Sorry,
We
I
have
was looking at North Carolina.
Yikes.
All right, Albemarle Sound looks okay, but yeah, we're kind of in the deeper confidence
higher
level.
confidence chance.
Higher
sure.
confidence levels
Yep.
that things are going to be pretty toasty this summer here.
Get ready for it.
Here's the thing though, this is average,
Right.
so this could mean 1, 2, 3 days where it's like blistering heat, and then 4 or 5 days where it's kind of right where we're supposed to be, maybe a little less, but it's just the way that things balance out. It's where the lows come up, So like this doesn't mean every single day is going to be 95 plus. This might mean, hey, for a week in June, there might be 2 or 3 days where it's like it feels like it's close to 100 degrees, but then it may settle down for the next 5 to 6 days.
Yeah, because all it takes really is just by this time the season wraps up, all it takes is for it to be like a degree above the normal, and you have a verified
and you have that
forecast.
verified, yeah. So
it doesn't-
again,
yeah.
more of the reason to understand that this is more of a confidence forecast, not an
how much above average
it's going to be.
This isn't a forecast that says we're going to break the all-time record high.
Correct.
Right.
105 degrees. Do you think we're going to do it this year? Do you think we can crack it?
I'm just
When
gonna
was the
say
last time we got
106.
close enough? Do you ever remember a time?
We had a couple of hundreds a few years ago. Not last year, I don't believe. We had 100.
A couple years.
degrees.
I think I was here. I
Couple
was
years.
working
Yeah.
here with
Yeah,
you.
you
I
were
think
here.
we had a couple 100-degree days. Yeah.
I was just in Savannah. I can't do it again.
It's
Do you get
always-
above 100 a lot in Savannah?
Yeah. Oh, a couple.
Not the heat index, raw temperature.
The raw temperature. Oh, raw temperature got around it.
Well,
Heat index was pushing 110,
Sure.
115.
Yeah,
But
no,
it's
we're
just as
talking
the
actual
proximity to the
temperature.
water.
Actual temperature
And
is
I would
probably
say
between
proximity to the
95 and
water,
100. Between 95 and 100 for a good
Right.
couple days throughout the summer. I'm just gonna hope that we don't hit the all-time record this year because I'm sick of that kind of heat.
And again, like last summer, I think we had, there was a week in July where it was tough.
Yeah.
But then that was really it, And then the rest of the summer was like, okay, this is a little bit tolerable. A couple hot days here or there. You know what I mean? Humidity is just what gets all of us.
Stifling.
I think the biggest thing is actually the really warm nights. That might be worse than when
I
it's really
agree.
hot in the
Mm-hmm.
daylight. Because if it's going to be hot during the day, it's going to be hot during the day. You expect it. But if it's, still 70, 80 degrees at 8,
Yeah, you
9
can't-
o'clock at night,
can't
it's
cool
like,
off.
oh my God. You're like
Right.
chilling out outside and you're just like sweating. And it's like the
Right.
sun's down.
That's also why all the trends, point towards seasons being warmer than they are usually.
It's the overnight lows.
Overnight
overnight
lows.
lows.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
those that we're gonna have all these fluctuations day to day. You have a couple hot days and a couple cool days, a couple hot days, a couple cool days, but those overnight lows just stay up,
Trending up.
Yep.
So they skew the averages.
Big time.
And then that's why you always see those headlines. Oh, the summer was 8th hottest on record. It's like the lows
Yeah.
don't cool off.
A couple of days ago, when I was heading home after the 11 o'clock show, the air temperature outside was around 57 degrees or so, and it was clear out, so it wasn't humid or damp, and it wasn't raining. I rolled down all the windows,
Yeah.
no heat. I said, I'm going to get cold one last time.
There
you go.
Because I don't think we're going to have lows in the
I
50s.
think you can tonight. Graph was going 58.
Could be. Yeah, more humidity, though. It's we're in a different pattern.
wind flips out of northwest. We'll see.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
It's
maybe we
true.
can tap
We'll
into
see.
that
We'll
dry
see.
air.
Speaking of because I described this as well. We were talking about temperatures cooling off, temperatures being hot. He'll appreciate this. Our meteorology 201 professor, one of the first things he taught us is freshman year.
Penn State, everyone. Penn State. This Penn State
Sorry,
talk.
so we had the same professor.
Shout out to
back
Dr.
freshman
Neese.
year. Dr. Neese is still there.
Legend.
I remember him saying, he goes, temperatures are not hot, temperatures are not cold. The air is hot and
Yes.
the air is cold. So the temperature is just the value,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
That has been in my head for more than a decade.
Hot or cold is just the feeling.
Yes.
How it
so
feels.
it's been more in my decade. So I have strived so much in this career not to say on air, yeah, temps are getting hot this week.
'Cause that's
temps
not
are
technically-
going
yeah.
temps are going up
Or down.
things are getting
Wow.
hot. And it's
You just blew my
in
mind.
my head. It's been in my head. So
That-
then anytime a producer or a story's written headlines, they're like, yep, temperatures are looking really hot today. Just in my head I go,
Yep.
no, that's wrong.
That is, yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
to
just
this,
silly.
When I
It's
was a
just silly.
freshman, my freshman, that was the first thing you learn your first day of
That
class.
was like he had like a list of like a couple like myths and
Yeah,
stuff
okay.
that
Yep.
like, you go over and all
That
that
was-
stuff. So then also I'll bring you, this is a good topic too. A friend of mine years ago, he always asked, he's like, why, if we use the real feel and the heat index so much in the summer, why don't we just use that as the temperature? If we're using the temperature as like, this is how it feels outside, why,
question.
what's the
That's a
difference?
fair
You know what I
question.
mean?
Fair question.
It's a very fair question. So I remember just, trying to answer that question to him, meaning like, well, the temperature is more of like, to him, I was like, hey, think of the temperature value. It's like, that's more of like a measure of the energy in the air.
Yeah.
And like the air particles moving around. I don't know, that's
Yeah.
how I kind of described it. It's
Yeah.
like more of a measure of
Right.
like kinetic energy in a way.
Yeah. Kind
Ooh,
of.
see
that's
if-
advanced.
Yeah,
I'm thinking.
Let's see if Jeff's brain gets going here a little bit.
I'm thinking.
That's how I thought of it, was like, that's a value of like,
Well, absolute zero, you don't have movement. That's a theoretical
Sure.
reading. Absolute zero as in 0 Kelvin.
Yes.
Not 0 Fahrenheit. 0 Fahrenheit
Yeah.
is... What's 0
Just-
Fahrenheit? I don't...
just cold.
Yeah, it's cold. Yeah, 0 Fahrenheit. Because 0 Celsius is freezing.
It's freezing.
Yes.
And then whatever.
Yeah.
We're not going to do the conversions right now. But yeah,
Yeah. So
what was the question? I'm
so the
sorry,
question was
I
like,
kinda
so
sidetracked.
to him it was like, why do we use both? Why is there a heat index or a real feel and a separate temperature when why isn't it just one?
Well, the equation is not for wind chill.
Yes.
So
And
the
it's
real
different.
feel wouldn't work in the winter.
Real feel wouldn't work in the winter. Also, real feel is not a thing for inanimate objects and just
Right.
material. You know what I mean?
Like
Just
metal, for example,
Exactly. Or
sitting
your
under the hot
car,
sun.
Plants.
all that stuff. Plants. The real feel, heat index, or the wind chill. Two kinds of real feel things. Formulas are different. That's just
for
how the air
Yeah.
feels to the human based on the
bodies.
current conditions of the environment: humidity, wind, temperature, dew point, all
point,
that kind of
yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a fun talker. You know,
That's a good one.
I was like, I think temperature is just think of it more as a measure of the energy in the
Yeah.
air.
It's a good way to
Hottest
put it.
temperature you've ever been in? Because we talked about coldest before, haven't we, on the show?
I would say low 100s.
I was
Yeah,
biking to
low
class, and it was, because I'm getting confused with the heat index, but it was, I think it was around 104 degrees.
Ooh.
It was really hot. I don't know what the heat index was. Maybe it was 115.
I think there were a couple days I think I've experienced like maybe 101, 102.
Yeah.
Real feel close to maybe like 110.
I
And
haven't
that was
been-
in Northeast Florida, so humidity
Had to
played a
be
huge
more than
role.
that
Yeah.
in Northeast Florida, because you probably were in environments where it was close to 115.
Real
I
feel,
would-
heat index.
Heat
maybe.
index.
Yeah.
Yep.
We did drive. I mean, when I drove across country when I was moving from the West Coast to the East Coast, we did drive through like the desert, like kind of like down through Nevada and stuff. And my 04, Jetta, we didn't have AC.
Oh.
The air conditioning kind of,
Yeah, the breeze.
went out, and there was three of us in the car, and we were just kind of windows down, just like sweating.
Yeah.
Just like, oh.
Yeah.
I think it was in the 90s though. I don't think it was that
I want to
bad.
talk about wet bulbs sometime,
Let's
the wet
do
bulb
it,
temperature,
yeah.
but I don't think we have enough time today because I
No,
just
I
looked at
think
the
we're
time
out
and
of
like,
time
oh
right
no,
now.
that's
Yeah.
opening a can of worms. So we're gonna talk about the wet bulb. So it's not a light bulb that's wet.
No.
It's a temperature that you can measure. I don't know. I should get a wet bulb. We should get a sling
Yeah,
spectrometer.
absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
We did that in my last story. We did that in my early meteorologist class as a freshman. That was in 2005.
Yep.
We first talked about Katrina because that was right when class started, so
course,
that was
yeah.
intense. But then after that storm passed and we got back to the curriculum, the Dr. Errett brought it in and it broke.
Did it break
So-
a window?
No,
Oh,
it,
okay,
it
okay.
fell off, but the
Hit
thermometer
somebody?
was mercury.
Oh,
So
no.
class was over.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Get out of
Class
there.
was over. So I was bummed because
You wanted to do that experiment. Yeah, you wanted
Yeah.
to learn about it. Yeah.
because this wasn't only for meteorologists. This was for other students that are engineers that had
Sure,
to take
had
that,
to take that.
basic meteorology class.
Right. Sure.
So they were like, yeah, no class. Like, well, I wanted to see what
A
happened
lot of
next.
crossover in sciences. Meteorology
Just
covers a
STEM-
whole lot.
STEM in
Covers
general.
a whole lot. Yeah, it's
Yes,
cool.
it does.
It's cool.
All right. Well, thanks
It's
for
fun.
joining us.
Fun
Thanks
stuff.
for hopping in. We talked about May. We talked about what's coming up this summer. We have what's next
Cool
week?
episode next week. So next week we're approaching the anniversary of D-Day. June 6th
Yes.
is the anniversary of D-Day and the invasion and storming the beaches of Normandy and all that. Weather played a huge role in that operation. Huge role. So we're going to talk about the forecast that unfolded and the pressure that some of the meteorologists were under to make these decisions. And then also, hurricane season's coming up, so we could also intro a little bit about hurricane
Yeah.
season. So
I'm
we got
excited
some fun
about that.
topics coming up next week.
Yeah, I'm excited about that D-Day stuff
Yeah, be
because
cool.
I love that history. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it's really neat.
All right. And then, Brian, you have something coming up too.
Yeah, coming up Monday. We're filming it on Monday. First episode of Hang 10. That's my surfing show. We're going to talk
Nice.
about all things surfing, whether it's wetsuit science, whether it's how waves form, or just talking to the thousands of surfers
Yeah.
across our area. Some pro, some amateur, some guys who really like to shape boards, shape fins. Maybe some weeks where we're just getting out into the water
Yeah.
and just going surfing in new locations.
And some video in the water too, which
Yeah.
is great because he films everything on his GoPro in the waves.
He figured out a way to get paid to surf. He figured it out.
My method. Hey, if you can't be a pro surfer, find your way around it.
Yes.
And you can become a pro surfer.
All right, well, we're going to
That's
leave it at
awesome.
that. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Steve, for hopping in on the show. We'll be back again next week.